Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to Let's Get Real. Another day, another few dollars maybe in the bank for all of us. Let's hope so. Today we have a wonderful show, and my other counter buddy, my other half, is supposedly coming in, but she's having some technical difficulties, and it's the old story goes that the show must go on no matter what. So I'm here with me, myself, and I hope you enjoy our conversations. No, actually, we do have a very special guest today. And it's a man that I met a little while ago. I went to during COVID, I got out of Canada and I went to visit Forbes Riley at uh, she was holding a special Forbes Riley show in her studio, and I met the most terrific people there. And it was just the beginning of building another world. And it's something that we'll talk about on the show. Now, let me tell you about this gentleman. His name is Cristian Hauser, and he is a very successful entrepreneur, and he's made over $1 million in sales through the power of good mentorship and good habits. Born and raised in the town of Peru, he learned the value of hard work and persistence, and from all of this from his grandfather, a fisherman who taught him to always get up early in the morning to provide for their family. And we're going to be talking about the lessons that he learned and that he now has put into practice in his own life. And what a more terrific way of learning, and it's from totally from the soul. So welcome, sir. Welcome, Cristian. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic, Glenda. Thank you for having me in your show here. I really appreciate it.
I'm thrilled. We haven't really spoken much since we met in Florida, and that was a wonderful time for me. And I know it was meeting different people from different worlds, but coming together and feeling like we were family.
Absolutely. It was a very interesting experience, especially because it was kind of like there was no race, there was no age, no color, there was none of that. It was just a group of people that have actually met through online since COVID for a while, that finally we came together live. And it was almost like I have known all of you guys for a long time, even
Yeah.
though I never really met you face to face.
I know. And it was just a wonderful experience to come together and touch and hug people again. Like, boy, did I miss that. And, there's still a lot of hangups, and we'll talk about that as we go along, because, what happened in COVID is still not over yet. There's a lot of people suffering, and I want to get into it. But first of all, tell me a little bit about your background. And I know about you growing up in Peru, and that's quite different from where you are today.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about it.
So I grew up in, first of all, my name is Christian, for everybody that might not know me, but I grew up in Peru. Peru is very divided, where we have a big city, which is Lima, the main capital. We have the tourist spots like Machu Picchu, where everybody likes to go. But one of the wonders of Peru is that it has almost everything at once. You have the mountains, you have the jungle, you have the desert, the beach, everything all at once. And so many times it all happens in one location. And that's kind of where I grew up. I grew up in a very small town. I grew up with my grandfather, who he valued a lot of different things differently than most city folks or other people. Because we just grew up and we grew up by the beach. For him, it was very important. He told me, Christian, the habits are very important. For example, like if I don't wake up every morning around 5 a.m. to go and catch the fish, then we might not have food to eat for the day. So he made it very specific. Says, okay, you gotta start early with your habits. If you don't start somewhere with habits or maintaining a certain way of living, then you're gonna let other people get ahead of you. You're gonna let other people get the food before you can even eat, and you might starve for the day if you don't start early. So that's kind of what started my foundation in believing. All right, clearly, if I don't build myself in a certain way or I believe in habits, I'm gonna be left behind while everybody else is just getting up there, getting the early fish.
So true. And it's, what a great foundation to start your life with, by having somebody, especially such an old soul, having your grandfather coming in and building you, and because you know that the love is there. So what a great way to begin life, with having somebody of that value to you, and you're adding into your life and your family. And we'll just stop for a second and say hello, Nicole, and thank you so much for joining
Oh,
us.
Christian, I don't know if you introduced him, but I had this big thing written out for you. And the next thing I knew, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm kicked out yet again. So anyway, welcome.
Welcome, thank you. I also have problems. Like I didn't realize Stream required me to log into Facebook, and I was like, wow, I don't know my password for this. And I resetting the password was very difficult. I was like trying to reset it, trying to make it on time. So we all experience technical difficulties.
Oh,
You
and
know,
it's crazy because when I get kicked out, and this happened over and over with Forbes, till finally I realized I was just disturbing everybody. And when I'm Glenda's and watched our live stream, but it's like it kicks me out, it turns off my Wi-Fi. I have to reset my password. It is the weirdest thing. I don't know. I'm thinking there's something weird inside my body, electrical, that's like kicking me out or something. But anyway, it's a pleasure to meet you. I have heard so much about you through Glenda, through Forbes. So I do apologize for whatever happened. I'm still not sure, but I'm glad to be here and glad to
No
finally
problem.
get to meet you in person.
It's nice to meet you too as well. And no problems at all. We all experience difficulties. No worries.
And our steady Glinda, who's always here, always smiling, always has the intro or whatever. We can always count on her to begin it and to end it, right, Glinda?
well, I believe that life always throws us curveballs, and it's not thinking that it's happening to us, but it actually happens for us. And it's not about, it's how you respond to those things in life. And that's how I lived my entire life, by all this, is just learning to respond to it. So my head always looks of the positive side of everything. So when something happens, it's like, okay, what am I going to learn from this? How can I build from this? And that's how I've gone on. So, I'm just now trying to find out. I'm always looking to learn. I think that that's what life is really all about, no matter what goes through. And, we're talking about habits. And so let's continue on and see what type of habits that you started building that helped you to build your career.
Yes. So normally one of the things that I always like to start is because my grandfather, I don't want to say forced me, but taught me to wake up so early. It's sort of like your body gets adapted to that, right? Like even when there are times I go to sleep very late at night, 3 a.m. at night, and I still wake up early. It's almost like my body has just the eternal clock to all my life. It's good and bad, right? Bad because if I travel to another country that the time difference is so different, I'll be up all night long just looking at the sky. But it's, to me, one of the most important things is how you start your day, right? It's like the very very first foundation. Like a lot of people say, oh, it's okay, just have a cup of coffee and leave. No, like it's that one saying, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, is so very true. I believe that whatever you start doing in the morning will shape the way that you're going to go throughout your whole day. Like what I like to do in the morning is I wake up a little extra early. Around, if I can, I will between 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., depending on how my meetings are going to go. If I even can, sometimes I challenge myself, and at least twice a week, I would like to wake up even earlier, like around 5 a.m., go to the beach, because luckily I live in front of the beach, so I can see the sunset. Here in Florida, I get the sunset. I don't get the no, sorry, I get the sunrise. I don't get the sunset, but I like to wake up earlier so I can see the sunrises and everything. Because I once one of my mentors said, "Can you imagine waking up that early where the sun is not even up, right? Like you're beating a giant ball of fire that basically warms up the whole. You're beating that thing up every morning. That right there. I feel with such powerful because I feel wow, I'm waking up before the sun is waking up,
I
right?
love that. Yeah.
I mean,
I've
how
yeah,
about
I've
you?
never heard of that. That's actually a good thing to think about is if you're powerful enough to get up before the sun, which is incredibly powerful,
Mhm.
you're going to have quite a day.
Oh, absolutely. And it just fills you with this sense, and then you get to. I always feel like whenever you do that, your gift is being able to see like the sun just coming out of the ocean and everything, and that's such a beautiful thing to see. And I'm like, wow, that's my reward. I woke up early, and that's my reward. And even if you try to go back to sleep, I just can't. I feel so motivated through the day. One of the reasons I also wake up so early is because I call it the silent hour. I don't know if you guys have experienced this or not, but whenever you wake up at
Start again. What do you call it again?
the silent hour.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So it's sort of like staying late at night, but in a different perspective. When you wake up so early, you get just the amount of light coming through your window where it feels like, okay, it's a brand new day. But also is very, very quiet. You might hear maybe a couple of cars on the streets. You might hear like the birds chirping around. But what's beautiful is that you get a sense of peace, like a sense of very tranquility and peace. And to me, that inspires me to sit down and do my content writing, my anything, any work that I'm pending to set up my meetings for the day. It's just that the special hours, kind of like I'm just on fire. I'm like, pa, 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 pa. Everything just flows correctly. I'm like, pa, 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 one thing after another. And then you look at the clock and you're like, all right, well, it's 7 a.m. And then you have realized that I have already gotten my meeting schedules. I already got this done. I already beat up the sun. I already have my breakfast. And then you start realizing you've done so many things before even people are like hitting snooze on their alarm clock, right? They're like, 7 a.m. snooze. Right? I mean, and if you guys are that, that's completely fine. I always feel like, most of the people in the planet are hitting the snooze button while I already have accomplished this much, right?
Yeah.
That means that I have so much more I can get done throughout the day.
Wow. Have you ever used that time to manifest, that time right after you wake up, or you're still kind of in a sleep realm? Have you ever utilized that moment? They say that in between time before you're fully awake is a time where whatever you think about, you're going to trap it in your subconscious and it'll come to fruition. Have you ever done that?
I haven't done that exactly. What I have done that is correct. That moment and you kind of wake up and you're like in the in between. I always feel like I'm able to write. I don't want to say write my dreams down, but like literally way. Like I actually wake up and whatever I just dreamt before, I try to write it down in a dream journal because if I have started to do the following. I have started to write down my dreams and everything down because I believe I can make them into maybe possible books or make them into movies. Because a
Wow.
lot of times I'm like seeing some things in my dreams and I'm like, oh my God, I would have never thought about this. And a lot of famous writers in the past or maybe famous movie creators have said the same thing. They said that whenever they were waking up or whatever they dreamed the night before was what inspired them to create X book or X movie. And I'm like, well, I mean, why not with me, right?
Exactly.
So I started
Exactly.
writing it down to make it happen, right?
Well, whatever comes in the mind is very possible for it to become into reality. It's
Exactly.
it's the beginning start of it, and that's well, I sort of start my day with gratitude of every morning being grateful that that I'm waking up and that I can get up and I'm the one who I start my actually I start my day the night before. I started reading about that. And for me, I was just talking to Nicole before we started this and was saying that I'm an avid walker. I love it. Like I'm a speed walker. And for me, it's to get up and going and to get out. So, it's like packing up everything. So all my shoes and my clothes and everything is all out so that I can jump up and get going so that I can get myself into nature. That's my special spot, to be out there where there's at least some trees and listening to the sounds of animals and birds and things like that. That sort of brings me into a different realm, because that's where I can start to really dream, and I allow myself to just envision at that point in time.
I really like that. That's pretty brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it just gives us the gear. Like, you know what? I have my visions already set out, and I'm writing out, and I've written my goals and all the rest of it. But if I'm out walking, I don't put stuff in my ears. It's my mind going. It's like allowing me. I always ask. I have my angels. I call them my angels that are always watching over me, and I just say to guide me, and what do I need to know, and that's when I just allow my thoughts to go, and it's really powerful. So that sort of gives me my start to my day, because that way then I come back and I start to journal of thoughts go in my mind. And even today, like, I took a backpack, just a very light one that I had, and I put a journal on a paper, and I went to a park that was close by after my walk, and I sat down afterwards in the park where it was just so gorgeous outside, and started writing, and that just brought things into a different shape. Now that, I'm in Toronto, so now we're getting into the nice weather and everything like that, so I don't have what you guys have, but it's really, just anybody watching, it's really something that's powerful, of being there, Mother Nature. You just just write. Anyways, so let's talk about mindset, because you know what, I know that you are really big on mindset, and let's talk a bit about how you develop a strong, healthy mindset.
So it all started with, here's my biggest belief when it comes to mindset, right? One of the things is, of course, it's a lot of inner work. You have to do it yourself. You gotta listen to the right things. But what I have learned through, since I was born to right now, and I will keep learning, is that it is so very important that what shapes your mindset is the people you surround yourself with, the friends, the lovers, the parents, the family members, all these different people. It is so very important to surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, not a lot of us do, right? And yes, do you guys have kids? I know, Glenda, you have like kids, I believe.
Yeah, I
Nicole?
have 12
Two.
kids.
I have two girls,
Oh, wow. Girls is
Yeah.
even more difficult on that.
28 and 20.
Wow. I'm 31. I'm right there.
Oh yeah,
Um,
he's so old.
oh, thanks. But
Um,
let me ask you, when you saw your kids growing up, right, in high school or kindergarten, do you realize that maybe with their friends that they were bringing into your home, or the people that we're hanging out with, were they becoming sort of similar to them, right? If they were all dressing like, let's say we, I don't know, like rock stars look, and they will also start dressing the same way, or if they dress a certain way, they also wanted to dress the same way as their friends. So all those different things shape you, right? And that's what mindset comes, because you adopt all the little things from everybody. Like, if I have a friend of 5 people, all those 5, if you don't know anything about me, and this is one of the biggest truths, is if you don't know anything about me, all you really have to know is my 5 top friends, and then you'll know everything about me. Because I always try to grab the most positive things, or whatever they're trying to learn. I always try to grab all the information from them and use it positively towards me, right? If I know a friend that is always telling me, Christian, you should eat this one meal because it helps you with protein and everything, then guess what? I'm gonna start eating that meal because I see the results in him. If someone tells me, Christian, you should read this book because this book helped me understand technology better, guess what? I'm gonna start writing that. I'm gonna start reading that book because I can see the results, right? And that's kind of what my mindset started. Early on, my grandfather telling me, Christian, it is very important to start doing this and that. I learned it from him. I'm like, all right, clearly this is a positive mindset. But to tell you the truth, it wasn't always like this. I know right now I'm very handsome and very smart, and my mindset is wonderful. But there have been many times as I grew up that, and it happened to me doing, I don't know if you guys have like high school or middle school over there, but it
both.
sort of starts there. You're a new kid. I just moved to the United States when I entered middle school, and I don't speak English at all. So
Oh
I'm
wow.
lost. Everybody's speaking a different language. So you kind of want to adapt. You want to just be like, oh, I don't want no one to see me, because I remember the very first time I walked into the classroom, and the teacher, they, first of all, it's not even like early morning. They just kind of like drop you off in the middle of the class because I have just come in, And the teacher's like looks at me and says, "Oh, do you oh, Christian, I see you're from Peru, whatever. Oh, do you speak English?" And so like everybody in the classroom just waited like, does he speak English? And I'm like, oh, so, that was all I knew how to say, so. And then everybody in the classroom just like, oh man, another one, right? And then you get that, you feel unwanted, right? Nothing I've done wrong, but because I couldn't speak the language.
Yeah.
So I adopted a mentality back then. You know what? Clearly, these people don't want me here. I just want to like crouch in a little corner and don't say anything. And again, it was because of my surroundings, right? All through middle school, again, I was very afraid. I didn't want to talk. I was trying to learn English on the side. I had no other choice but to learn English because people would come in and tell me things, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but I didn't know what it meant. And then high school, what teenager ever tells you, I love my high school experience, everything, there was no issue, right? Clearly, there was a lot of issues to high school. But I was lucky enough that when I got to high school, I was already speaking English better, so I could communicate. But I was lucky enough to find the right type of friends. And luckily for me, I got friends that didn't involve me with drugs or other stuff that people were doing at the time, which unfortunately I saw a lot of other friends that I had that they did went with drugs and marijuana and all these other things because they wanted to click in, they wanted to belong, and in that process they lost themselves. They lost themselves because they wanted to become like them. If I don't do drugs like them, they're not gonna accept me, and if they don't accept me, then who am I gonna sit with at lunch? I don't want to be sitting alone, or I don't want to do the projects by myself.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's a lot of the pressure that teenagers nowadays suffer. And
Yeah,
find the
very
right
true.
place. Yeah, and it
You
makes
know,
me
I
sad for the
I
parents.
can remember when my daughter was in high school. No, it was probably middle school, and she came home and told me about someone that didn't speak English very well. And I
Mm,
remember telling her, I said, don't make fun of someone like that. I said, that means they speak at least two languages and you don't. I said, so
Yeah.
just keep in mind that they're learning something brand new and you can't communicate with them because they know another language and you don't. I said, so, she said, oh, I never thought of that. And,
mm,
she was always the one, she was always the helpful kid in school that, always took care of the people with handicaps. So she was kind,
wow.
she was very kind. But, at first she was like, well, they don't speak. It's like, oh, no, we don't do that. So
Yeah,
I
and it's because you
understood.
taught her, like you gave her that mindset on her, right? That hey, because someone comes from another country, if anything, you should be grateful because now they can maybe teach you another language, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm curious, Kristen, now that you're older and you kind of look around and remember some of the friends that maybe you had before, have you had to release some friendships because of their mindset, because
Of
they
course,
maybe didn't vibrate with you?
of course, it's unfortunately as we keep climbing the ladder, right? Like if we're
Yeah.
trying to reach the top, I'm gonna give you the perfect analogy that I came across by mistake. So I live in a building and my floor is just to give you a crazy. I'm gonna give you a little crazy quick story. Right?
Okay.
I bought my apartment in 2020, the best time to buy things, right?
Yes.
So the thing is that okay, so in a twisted fate, my apartment number is 2020, and I
Ooh.
moved January 1st, 2020, and I thought, oh, this is gonna mean something. The stars are like clearly I'm buying an apartment in 2020, and and it's 2020. I'm like, ooh, I cannot wait. And clearly it was actually a fantastic year, but like there was a lot of rockets that year. Anyway, so I live on the 20th floor, right? And one thing I will always notice is that when you're in the first floor and you have like 10 people waiting for the elevator, you're gonna see at least 7 people coming, 7, 10, or so X amount. Some people might exit the elevator and you get a little worried, but that's another story, right? So you have all these people in the elevator. But as you're going up the floors, and maybe on the second floor, 2 people are going to walk out. On the fifth floor, maybe one person is going to walk out. By the time you make it to your actually floor, you realize it's just maybe you and another person. And that sort of happens in life as well. As we're growing up in middle school, high school, we get all these friends, all these friends. Everybody comes in. Everybody gets in the elevator. But once you start moving another level in your life, maybe a couple of friends drop off because they don't feel comfortable with you anymore, or maybe they
It's
went
true.
another way. and so on, right? As you go on, and the more you climb, the more floors you're gonna get higher. Unfortunately, is the less people you see. And what I have noticed and learned from experience is that it's not necessarily just friends. A lot of times it's family members. Unfortunately, it's like family members. One big thing for me was lovers, right? People that you're in a relationship with for X amount of years. When you start to become a certain level, and they don't seem to find themselves in that level. It's unfortunately, but people separate, right? Because the good news is that as you're climbing that level, doesn't mean that, oh my god, I'm losing all my friends, I'll never find all these people in my life. As you climb that stairs, or you go up in that elevator, you will also meet people in the same levels, new people, different mindsets, people that I'm like, wow, I could have never learned that without them, or wow, I'm so thankful I met them, because it helps me get to the next floor or the next level, right? And it's incredible.
Yeah, and people come into our lives for different reasons. And, like sometimes you just mention about lovers. Well, there's a possibility that, somebody comes in to maybe open you up so that you will start to be able to receive love, and that because maybe sometimes you go through things and it closes you down because of whatever, maybe something happened with that relationship, and then somebody else comes in that maybe allows you to open up again. And then, but they're only there for, I call it for a season, right? They're
Season.
only there for that season, and that season is to open you up so that you will be open for love. And they might just, then that might be their whole thing about them. And then, then they, after you've done it, you realize that, you don't have that continuous connection. There's something there. So they just sort of go off, and then that now you're ready to keep on venturing.
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, Glenda, believe it or not, it was after, it was not last, was it last year? I want to say it was last year. Yeah, it was something last year. I have just lost my 10-year long lover, like my relationship,
Oh, wow.
with her. Like we parted away as soon as I learned about Forbes, and my mindset was growing with everything Forbes and all these different people. I became an international bestseller. I was doing all these great things. It's kind of like I got the next floor, but unfortunately, she was not in the same floor. So we parted away 10 years. And it's kind of like what Glenda was just saying. That whole year after that, it's kind of like I focused on my growth. I was like, okay, focus on this, my work. I gotta become number one. I gotta, because I don't want to focus on that part, right? But of course, unfortunately, you always come back to it. Our minds can only go so far. And I remember that it was, I want to say it was during March. I can't remember exactly the time, but it was like God sent time. It might have been just after Valentine's Day, and of course, you feel all the emotion and stuff. Glenda posted something on Forbes group. She posted her story of how she grew up, everything that happened, and you posted about like your ex-husband, and everything, your whole story. Like, it was, honestly, at first when I saw him, like, there's no way I'm gonna read this, because there's no spacing, there's nothing, just all story. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna read it, because Glenda, I know Glenda is an awesome person. I'm gonna read this anyway. So I sat down there and I started reading, and it was like I couldn't put it down. And it was at least 3 pages of Facebook notes, but it was such a powerful story. Everything that Glenda went through, like even from her accident, and like the crazy husband, and like the everything that she did, and having her kids and running away, all these things. I was like, oh my goodness, and then Glenda, every time I see her, she has this beautiful smile, and I'm like, this person has gone through all these things, yet when I see them, they're smiling, they're bright. When I met Glenda in the first Forbes group, she was a radiant right. Like, she was out there. Like, you could tell. Like, Glenda walks with this like character. Like, she like walks with like such what would I call it here, with such glow, right? Like, when I was walking around, like, wow, that's a woman, right? And it was thanks to that story, Glenda, that I got all my own focused moments that I was having. That thanks to that story, I was like, it
Wow.
was
Okay.
thanks to that moment. Right. It was, you never know who you're gonna inspire with your story, right? And I was
That's
feeling so
right.
well. And then I
Yeah.
saw that story, I read, I'm like, you know what? Glenda can do it. If every day I see her or every time I see her, she's putting a big smile and walks with such dignity and power on power. That's the way I was looking. Such power on her. Then guess what, Christian? What you done with this little thing that happened to you is nothing. It's like nothing compared to what you did. Of course, doesn't mean that it's not something for me, but
No, you got to feel like we go through the things that we go through for a reason, and it's
Mhm,
those reason that builds us. So
exactly.
it's instead of sitting back and having your pity party. Now, like I always tell
Mhm.
everybody, I had my pity party, but I only allow myself to feel sorry for myself for a very short time, and
Yeah,
then I kick myself in the ass and say, "It's time to get up and get your ass going, girl." You got to keep on going. You can't allow life to knock you down. It's got
exactly.
to keep making you go forward. Like, okay, so this didn't work out the way you hoped, and we all have lives of we hoping for, but
Exactly.
Absolutely.
but the lessons that I learned from that were crazy. The lessons that as my kids watched me, and instead of, both of my kids were so blown away, like, wow, mom, look what's gone on with you. And now you're getting up and now you're putting together a new business. Like you just don't stop. And it's like, that's what gives me power because now I see how I can make them knowing that it's okay, no matter what knocks you down, get up and keep moving.
Yeah. And there's always someone watching. There's always someone watching you. You don't know who sometimes, you don't know why. But when you think about it that way, and Forbes, that's what Forbes told me once. She goes, quit playing small. She says, you're not serving yourself, but you're also not serving others because you never know who's watching and you never know who might need to hear just those few words you
Yeah.
have to say. And I'm like, wow, that one hit me really hard. And it's like that makes a lot of sense. That
You,
makes a lot of sense. So
yeah,
I've tried not to play small since that moment.
you can't. And like Blender's story gave me strength. And I remember that it was after that that I got the strength. And even sometimes when I feel like in relationships low, I think back at Blender's story. Like it just it did such a big effect on me that I was like I use it as a strength.
But it's true. I was just telling about another story to somebody else about something else of another relationship that I was in, and it was for a certain time, and that relationship went because it wasn't meant to be. Like
Mm,
I knew, but what it did, like I always felt like, again, I said it opened me up to receiving love again, and that I'm grateful for. So when somebody comes into your life and they do something, and sometimes we look at it and we think that that something is bad, you got to be grateful because they actually did you a favor, and you got to look at it like, if it wasn't for that, even my first relationship, if it wasn't for that man who came into my life, I wouldn't have my two fabulous kids.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I am so grateful, and no matter how they feel, or if they're feeling, being angry or whatever, let them. You don't have to come down to anybody else's level, but you can still feel that gratitude in your own heart. You can't control what other people feel or think about you. Like, it's not what it's important.
Hmm.
We can't let it guide us, right? We have to continue on with what we feel that gives us power. And if you can find something in anything, it's just on how you look at it. You can be angry or you can just be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I choose happiness.
I couldn't agree more. And the ones that martyr themselves or victimize themselves, if they knew what a disservice they were doing to themselves, because all three of us are prime examples of what you can accomplish if you get up and persevere.
Exactly. And again, it goes back to like the people you surround yourself with, right? Like if I would have never met Glenda, I probably like I wouldn't have found that strength in those moments, right? Or if I would have not met Forbes, I would have never understood that people are what, like you said, Nicole, like people are always watching. right? You never know
Always.
who you're helping. Like, it's kind of like sometimes you meet people in the streets and they're angry at nothing. You're like, oh my God, this person's just angry. No, they might be having a bad day. And if you're the one person that tells them, hey, are you okay? Are you feeling all right? You can make such a big difference in a day. Don't give them. I sometimes buy random flowers from the people in the streets, and I'll give them to random people. And I seen some people like not very grateful. They're like, oh, okay, But some people, it's like I just made the entire year, and it's beautiful to just see that.
It
You're like,
is.
wow, one $5 flower can make such a big difference. You know what I mean?
You know what? I've even held doors open for people that are so shocked that you do it, they almost don't know what to say. And I always told my kids, kindness is free. Just smile, just be kind. They're like, well, sometimes they don't say anything. I said, that's not about you. That's about them. I said, just keep doing it.
Yeah, you
So
never know. Unfortunately, you never know what's happening in someone else's mind or so. So just be kind. It's the best thing in the world.
absolutely. I agree 100%.
So let's talk about the life of an entrepreneur. We all are entrepreneurs here, but many people continue on and living in the life of the 9 to 5.
hmm
What made you pick the life of an entrepreneur?
Well, I think it was the fact that, and even today, is that as I grow and I keep wondering things, I never really know what is that I should be doing. I know it sounds crazy because I have mindset, I have this, I have great mentors, I have everything, right? But haven't you ever experienced where you think you're for sure you know what you're doing? You're like, okay, this is what I want. I have my business, I have my goals, this is what I want, right? But then someone approaches you and says something like, Christian, you have such a good like acting face. Like I mean, like actors' body or face, whatever. Right? You should be great in movies, and they make you wonder your whole life. You're like, you know, you are absolutely true. I am very handsome. Why not become an actor? It's one of those things that in a 9 to 5 you cannot do, because in a 9 to 5 is, even if you have the aspiration of becoming something else, or waking up one day and say, all right, let me open a business on this and that, you can't. 9 to 5 is kind of like you have to wake up early to 9 and you're here until 5, and after that you're too tired to want to do anything, so you just go to sleep, wake up to do the same thing, right? You're in that endless loop. When I started becoming an entrepreneur, of course it's scary because no one is there to hold your hand. No one. If you lose everything, then you lose everything. There's no a paycheck coming out. There's nothing that you might know. But at the same time, you're taking those risks, so you can wake up every day and be like, all right, today I can do absolutely anything I want as well. If I want to become an actor tomorrow, guess what? I can. If I want to become a freelancer and solve problems, guess what? I can, right? And the best thing is that once you figure out how to do one thing, it becomes easier to figure out how to do the next thing, the next thing, right?
Yeah.
Might not always working. And the good thing about entrepreneurship is that that most people give up because if they want to say, I want to become an actor, right? They're like, okay, I became an actor. I went to my first audition. I got shut down. Oh my God, I can never do it. This is clearly not for me. I'll go out. We entrepreneurs understand that it might take maybe a year, 2 years. Heck, it might take a lot longer than that just to get that first role started, right? Because we are resilient. We understand that it's not gonna go on the first try. If it goes on the second try, then I am clearly blessed by God. But and then you gotta keep going and going, because you know that you can fail one time, you can fail a second time, third, fourth time. You can just keep going because eventually you're gonna get it done, right? And that's a mindset, that resilient mindset that we have. We're like, I know I can fail, and it's fabulous. Let me keep failing because I can keep growing.
Okay, but how do there's so many people that, get hit with rejection.
Yeah.
And when they get hit with rejection, it knocks them down. And it's really hard. Let's look at it and be
Mhm.
real. It's really hard when you're knocked down and you're getting rejection over rejection. And to keep on going sometimes can be very difficult.
Mhm.
It's but the paycheck's not coming in.
Yeah.
We can only stay strong for so long. What is it inside of you that helps you to keep on going?
Mm.
Because it's a special quality that you have to have to be able to keep on going, even with rejection?
With me, I think it's a set of different things, right? The first thing is I do a lot of cold calling and reaching out, and I always think to myself, a lot of people are afraid because, again, rejection. You're going to pick up the phone and they're going to say no. Clearly, they're going to think. One thing I understand is that a lot of times it's overthinking, right? We say no before they can even say yes. And what I do is, if I'm cold calling, when it comes to those type of rejections, I'm always like, what's the worst that can happen? They're going to punch me to the phone? No, they cannot, right? They're going to say no, and guess what? I'm going to move on, right? And believe it or not, I kind of sometimes even put myself in the spots where, again, feel rejection. I'm a huge introvert. Just so you know, I'm a huge introvert. Like, I am
No.
introvert hard. Right? I got to use all my energy sometimes to go outside. But what I sometimes, you go to a nice coffee shop. I put myself out there. Okay, Christian, go out to the coffee shops. And as weird as it sounds, I'm all like, okay, I know there's many pretty girls out there that might not see the handsomeness that I am, but I'm gonna go out there and talk to the managers, right? I know I'm gonna get rejected. Like sometimes you just have to build a mindset. But guess what? That helps me train. Where okay, this person might reject me, but the next one might not. So it's hard to explain, but I kind of like enjoy rejection because to me, rejection means that once I get that yes, man, that yes is gonna feel so awesome, right? You're like, oh man,
It becomes like a game, right?
right?
Exactly. I've never heard anyone say I love rejection. That's a first, Christian.
Well, it's kind of like I don't want to sound like everybody else, but failure is the greatest teacher of all, right? It's like
Okay.
rejection is like the greatest teacher of all because sometimes I even ask them for them when I go out to a lady and I said, hey, I tried to do my joke and or whatever and it doesn't work. I ask them, hey, look, what is that I did wrong, right? If you mind me asking, what is that I did wrong? And they will give me tips like, oh, look, I'm sorry, maybe I was in a rush. And a lot of times, I will say 80% of the time, it's not you, the person, that got rejected because of you. A lot of times you get rejected because of the person just have something else going on, right? And I always want to kind of like stick on that. I'm like, I'm not getting rejected because of me. Clearly, it's not me. I'm handsome and good looking. But what it is that it's just them. It's not the right time for them, or maybe it's not the right product, or maybe it's not maybe what you're selling is not the right pitch. Like how Forbes teaches us is the way you deliver your pitch might be terrible, right? And another thing I do is that, as silly as it sounds, I mean, this is gonna sound very silly because you think mindset and everything, but I also like to do things thinking in a sense, kind of like my grandfather was teaching me. He said, "I wake up early in the morning so you guys can have food." Right? I wake up every morning. I do all this, and I go out there. Even if I know there might not be any fish, I still go out there because you guys need to eat. Right? I think about it the same way with me. A lot of times everything with my family and everything kind of relies on me, right? My dad is not getting any younger, and my mom is not getting any younger. My siblings are learning, a lot of different things. So it relies on me as the oldest son. I put that on me. I'm like, you know what, Christian? I also got to take care of my family, right? And if I don't do this, if I don't try to get rejected at least 10 times a day, then I'm not doing something right. Right? If I don't keep going, if I don't keep the resilient mentality, then they're not gonna eat. The same way my grandfather told me, if you don't wake up early and try to catch the fish, we unfortunately cannot eat for the day. And I center that basic mentality. I'm like, if I don't go out there and keep getting rejected, or if I don't keep working on my next project and just keep going hard of it, they might not eat, right? Or my cat might not get the fancy food that they like, right? So it's those type of things that I just have to keep building on me. And yeah, a lot of times it can be scary. And nothing is perfect. Sometimes I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, why? But somehow, I don't know if it's the universe connecting the right people, if it's the universe doing the right thing, or maybe I did something great in the past and this is just my good karma.
Yep.
But somehow it always works out.
I
Even
know, right?
right before I met Forbes, I actually funny thing because before I met Forbes, doing 2017 and 18 and 19, I made a lot of money. I was making over $1 million, everything. I was super happy. I went with the wrong people, trusted the wrong people, and guys screwed up. Like really, the carpet got stolen from under my feet. I lost everything. I'm back to $0. I have nothing. I have no friends. Zero, nothing. It was scary because you're like, oh my God, I have nothing now. I don't have my money to like sit comfortable with. I have nothing.
So did your money do you think your money was the reason you had those friends? How come the friends went
Oh,
off?
absolutely. So
Okay.
again, when you grew up,
Yeah.
I thought, it's kind of like you always grow up as a kid and you have little friends, and then when you start making some money, then you are able to do more things, invite more people, and all of a sudden you get a lot more friends, and
Yeah.
then
Okay.
a lesson, right? Kind of like with Glenda was saying, sometimes you meet certain people to teach you a lesson. And these were my people teaching me a lesson where I thought, oh, wow, I actually somehow have a lot of friends. Clearly, great things are happening. My life is perfect. And it was not the case, right? The moment I lost everything, those friends all of a sudden stopped picking up my calls. They stopped hanging out with me. And from the 20 friends I had, now I only have 3 friends. But again, I learned a lesson that, Christian, people are going to come in whenever you build up and you have more resources. They're going to come in to try to steal your resources. So be more careful with it. So the next time when I was able to again put my mindset there and build my businesses and everything, and I made it again over $1 million in sales and everything. Now I was more careful because again it was happening. The moment you will start making more money, all these other people start coming out of nowhere the woodworks, right? Like, oh my God, Christian, remember me? Your cousin from like the other family member, the other family member. But I was more careful this time. I have learned my lesson, right? And I was more careful. I'm like, yes, I know you. Thank you very much. I tried to shorten those distances, and I started learning because when I lost everything, I learned my real friends. I learned
Yeah.
the people that I
Exactly.
really trust. Right? I learned people that even if I had nothing, they'll still give me their hand. Like, believe it or not, when I went to Forbes, that Forbes factor, I have lost. I was still rebuilding. Like I was still rebuilding. It was very expensive for that moment, right? I was like, oh man, I'm spending X amount of money on this that I probably shouldn't, but I did it anyways because I thought I took it as a investment. One, you get to meet a lot of great people. Two, you never know who's in the room. And three, it was because the most important thing you can invest is yourself, right?
Yeah.
The very most important.
But people don't realize that when we talk about that, how important it is to invest in yourself,
Absolutely.
because that's the best investment you can make. And you also had a big breakthrough at Forbes as
Oh
well.
yeah, yeah. It was huge. Yeah,
So,
and you were there to see it.
right.
And it's like it helped me because I sometimes it's like it was that breakthrough that right after that I was able to realize, Christian, it's time to get. Well, I don't want to curse, but it was like it's time to get shit done, right? And I was like, and I focused on it, and it was kind of like what I was saying earlier. It's like things just worked out. All of a sudden, it was kind of like I went in this flow, and things were just pairing up correctly. People, I was meeting the right people. My business was helping. I was solving solutions, and I was back on top again, right? And
Nice.
it's just again habits, right? Building those habits, having that mindset to be able to get it done.
Was the catalyst your breakthrough? The breakthrough at Forbes, was that kind of your catalyst in your mentality that has given you kind of this backbone to go right back out and do it again?
Of course, because it's kind of like if when you're a little kid and you go on your bicycle and you never want to drive a bicycle again, right? You're like, oh my God, no, I'm scared. Or if you get in a car accident, you never want to get in a car accident in a car again because you're afraid, right?
Right.
But it took a mentor, which is another very important thing for me. It took a mentor or someone that has been there already, someone that knows the step. They're like, you know what, Christian, I also suffered through this. I also got through all these different things, and guess what? I'm here. I'm alive. She has two wonderful son, the son and daughter that couple of business, a very handsome man. And it's just like, I'm here. And I went through my breakthrough and I realized that the moment I let that things go, like the things I get, like that fear, like, oh my God, I'm carrying my fear of my bicycle, of my car accident, whatever. Once you let it go, then you realize it's like, huh, you know, I can get back in the bicycle again. Yeah, if I fall again a couple times, guess what? I get back, right? Yeah, I can get back in the car again. I just have to be more careful this time, drive more careful. Now maybe drive with both my hands, not just one car looking cool, right? So it's kind
With
of
your elbow out.
right. You're like, oh, I'm trying to make it. This is a terrible way of driving, just because this is all over the road. Like more realistically, it's like this. But so I get that back there on the road, and it was that catalyst. It was like that catapult, right? Because then you make you realize once you let go all those things that are like listening in your ear, all those different things in your back, everything that you're carrying on you, you're like, wow, I feel much lighter, and yeah, I can get it done. I can continue, and that is why mentors are so important, because sometimes you cannot see it on yourself, right? It's like you want to do it, and I thought I was doing everything right. I'm like, no, I mean, I'm clearly doing businesses. They're just not working out because I might be doing something wrong. No, just once a mentor comes in, it's like, Christian, it's not your business the problem, or whatever you're doing the problem. It's that you are afraid of taking that, maybe that risk, or you are holding something back so much that it's affecting you, and it will affect your whole. Just so you know, one thing I learned is that a lot of people, they get all these sicknesses, right? Especially during COVID, people were getting sick and all these different things. And a lot of them might not be necessarily because there is a virus or X amount of things. A lot of times it's an inner work. If you feel all this stress, like when your body's super stressed, or you're have all these worries and all these different things, it's gonna affect your whole health, right? It's gonna
Absolutely.
everything. Like the more stressed, the more you become like heart attacks can happen. You become sick, So it's just all around finding the right mindset, getting all that stuff out of your body, like all those unnecessary worries, right? All that trauma, whatever you have inside, getting that out of you helps you so much more in just your health, your personal life, and just all around.
Well, that's a great reason. And I agree. I'm really big on mentorship and coaches and so forth. I've had for many years now. And well, in some ways, I think I've always had people that have mentored me in one way or another. And it's true because we can't see what's in front of us at sometimes, and we need somebody else who can point directions to us.
Right. Another set of eyes on it. And, Christian, I know, you're young to me, obviously, but as a mentor, I could see you be with younger boys or boys that know no direction. A lot of people forget about the age group where they're really moldable. You would be a great role model for talking in schools or elementary schools or junior high when everyone's so insecure and, the way you were. Look at how you were in junior high and who you are now. It's so amazing to see the difference. Have you ever thought about mentoring or talking to kids in school?
I actually started considering that because ironically, I was working. One of the things I was talking to Forbes is that I know Forbes have always wanted to do like a 10x and everything. So I found someone that can get her to the stage, and I do a meeting and everything, and I have her in the stage, in a three-way talking, and then as, as she's talking, she's like, Christian, why don't you do one, right? And I had a moment of realization. I'm like, oh, you know, I I guess I could, it just sometimes you don't realize it, right? You like, because like you said, sometimes I feel like maybe I'm too young for people to listen to me, or maybe I don't feel like you get that, what is that feeling called? The imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just can't help it. You're like, well, I am this, but there are other people are so much better than me, right? And it wasn't until I realized that with Forbes that she told me, no, Christian, you can do your own TEDx, right? There's going to be tons of people that can listen to you. And I have been sort of looking into that. I don't know how to start necessarily, but I'm doing it anyways, right? I'm like, I've been teaching like younger family members of mine. I tell them, hey, look, I help my cousin with a lot of different things. Because he doesn't want to be a 9 to 5. He's like, I don't want to be a 9 to 5 Christian. What should I do? So I've been coaching him, helping him with little things, and I see the progress that he makes, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. I can help with younger generations. I can help people, right?
Absolutely.
So
Do you
like,
ever go back to Peru?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, to
I have
help people and
I not as well. I have gone back to Peru to see family.
mhm.
I have gone back to some old friends that I had that were really great friends of mine, and I have coached them to different things. I never considered what you just said until just now. I'm like, oh wait, I could have gone to Peru and do that too, right? But it's something to look into as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, someone like you're very relatable to the younger, like me. I could walk in and they'd be like, what is she trying to talk about? They see you and they're going to listen because you have a story. And, all of a sudden you're this kid who doesn't speak English to this guy making $1 million. That's a good story.
Yeah,
That's a
thank you.
good story.
The power of the story, right?
the
Absolutely.
stories of the story and the power of just how you've pushed yourself through. And that's really important about so many else other ones. You know what? It's at the end of the day, once you start going in and trying it one step at a time, hitting one person's life, how you can reinvent that one person and give them the courage to keep going. That's all it really needs.
Yeah, and you never know. You never know who you'll be
You never
helping. It
know.
could be the next. What is the Apple guy? Steve Jobs. You know, like that you help. You never know, right? Just do
Absolutely.
it.
When
Now,
he said apple, I was thinking like a basket full of apples, the apple guy.
Oh,
See, and that's why you're more relatable, because you're thinking of Apple the phone. I'm thinking a basket of apples. I'm not
oh
going
yeah,
to to anybody.
that's true.
well, and I'm very saddened to say that we're already at the end of our hour, and time just flies by like there's no tomorrow. Cristian, tell us what special golden nugget can you share with us as you think that would help somebody if they're sitting there and maybe they haven't been able to move through their life, or what helps you that can help somebody else?
I'm gonna. It's one thing that a mentor told me, and I carry it through my life a lot. And it says, don't um, don't seek opinions, seek guidance, right? And what it means is that if you go to someone that have never reading a book before, and you ask them and you're gonna tell them I want to write a book, they're gonna give you all the reasons why you shouldn't do it. They're like, oh, don't do it. Book don't sell. Things are not. Oh, it's so difficult. Who reads anyways? Blah blah blah. Right? That's an opinion right there.
It's
But
true.
if you go to someone who is reading a book before, they're gonna give you the A, B, and C of how to do it. They're gonna tell, hey, John, I'm looking to write a book. I don't know what to do. Hey, no worry. What you're gonna need is a ghostwriter, someone that can help you with the story, write it down somewhere. They're gonna give you the guidance, and that makes a big difference. Because whatever you want to do in life, whatever it is, if you want to become an actor, you want to do, I don't know, a skydiving, whatever it is that you're looking to do in life, find that guidance, find that mentor that have done it already.
Right.
The easiest thing is that if you already done it already, then guess what? They have the blueprint, right? Of how to make it there. So find that. Don't go to your parent, your mom or dad, because again, they love you very much, but in their own sense, they're just gonna give you opinions. Look for that mentor. Look for that guidance. That's where you're gonna grow that extra step. That's where you're gonna get your goal achieved.
I love that. And that's so true. So true. Nicole, what can you shed on us?
Well, it's, you know what, I'm so glad you've been on today, Cristian. You're just a shining example of success, and I love that. The one thing you said about, finding a mentor that's done it before, I think that's so important, because they always say, don't reinvent the wheel. Find someone who could help you. But, you've hung in there, you've lost everything, and you've come back. And I really think that's something to remember, is that your stubbornness or your dedication or your perseverance, whatever it is that's inside of you, I think you need to dig in there and find it, each and every one of us, because we've got it in there someplace. But really, you're a beautiful example of success and a mentor. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Of course, I love this show. Like, thank you very much for having me here today.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And I want to thank you very much. And you are a shining star. And it's so lovely to, first of all, to see you again and really have this time to chat. But most importantly, I'm really glad that we could bring you on, because, there's so many people that have gone and lost things. And what happens is, just as you said, they beat themselves up because they've lost and don't have the courage to get on, to get back up and move forward in their life. And for that, I give you first kudos for doing all of that. And for that is a great opportunity for others who have been watching this. So, Cristian is really somebody who's lived it and who's built himself back up at a very early age, and who's still managing to go on and find also new things. And that's what it's all about. We just got to keep going on and find where our genius is in us, because we all do have it. So thank you so much for showing up today, and really for showing us some incredible lessons that I know that people can learn from.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And for
Pleasure.
everybody else, if you found this helpful and you would like to, please give us some love, share us, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Because you know what? Today, it's all about helping others and moving forward in life. Thank you, everybody. And until next Wednesday, bye for now.